porn actress Stormy Daniels has acknowledged making money from her story of an alleged affair with former President Donald Trump, saying it is exactly what the former president would have done in her shoes. In lively exchanges on her second day of testimony, Ms. Daniels was accused of spending years profiting from the story with a book deal, a reality television show, and the line of merchandise she touted when Trump was arrested for the first time on criminal charges. Well, Alan Dershowitz is a high-profile U.S. attorney who defended former President Trump in his impeachment trial. Alan, hello. Professor, how are you?
I'm doing great. I didn't vote for President Trump, but as a civil libertarian, I defended him against what I believe was an unconstitutional impeachment, but I'm not a Trump supporter.
Indeed. That was clear. Thank you very much. Okay, so what about Stormy Daniels? Second day of testimony, some pretty intense cross-examination, and she gave some excruciating details about her encounter with the former president. And his lawyer, Todd Blanche, said it was prejudicial. What did you make of her testimony, how she came across, and the likelihood of it damaging President Trump in the eyes of the jury?
I can't imagine any good British judge allowing her to testify as to anything other than the fact that she threatened to expose and state that she had sex with him unless he paid money. Whether she had sex with him or not is particularly irrelevant. Whether it was in the missionary position, utterly irrelevant. Whether her pajamas were...
Ooh, I think we've got a problem with your line, Mr. Dershowitz. Let's see if we can re-establish it. Okay, let's get back to Professor Alan Dershowitz. So, can you explain, you said that no British judge would allow Stormy Daniels to testify, but we're talking about America, and she has the right, one, to be called, and two, to give her testimony. So how do you think it will have landed with the jury?
Well, I think if the jury is smart, it asks itself, we're now weeks into the trial, and we haven't heard what the crime is. The crime apparently has something to do with writing down in a corporate form that he paid legal expenses when he paid hush money. But hush money can easily be categorized as legal expenses designed to prevent a lawsuit from happening. But even so, that's barred by the statute of limitations. So they have manufactured a crime out of nothing, and I would hope the jury would see through that. We've heard lots and lots of irrelevant testimony about publications that pay to catch and kill, about the porn, not what he's on trial for.
Right. And you've also been critical of the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, and the tactic of not just pushing this case to trial, but also depending, a bit like the Harvey Weinstein case, on testimony that isn't directly related. Can you explain that?
Court in the Harvey Weinstein case, I was a consultant on that case.
Professor, thank you very much for now. We do have persistent problems with your line, so we're going to do it the old way, what we call the dog and bone over here in the London area. And I'll get you on the phone, because at the moment we've got you on what we call a high-quality Zoom line, and normally they are very good. Studio quality makes it a better listening experience for our listeners out there, but it's a persistent gremlin. So let's get Professor Dershowitz back on the phone, and we'll talk to him about Ms. Daniels' testimony and also some of the other witnesses on the line. So, Professor, we've had other witnesses apart from Stormy Daniels, Rebecca Manocchio and Tracy Menzies. Are these ancillary, really, to the main event? Not just Stormy Daniels, but also Michael Cohen, who is the former consigliere to Donald Trump and whose testimony, some say, could make or break this.
Well, I agree with that. I think Michael Cohen is very relevant because he's the one who made the payments, he's the one who got paid back, and he's the one who can testify whether these were legal expenses or other kinds of expenses. So he's relevant, but the question is, can he be believed? I think the prosecution will try to corroborate through other witnesses everything he said. In the end, I think the prosecution will argue to the jury, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you can convict without believing Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen had to testify in order to identify certain things, but you can convict him whether you believe Michael Cohen or not. They won't depend on his credibility, because that would be a kiss of death to say to the jury, are you going to believe this man who's an admitted liar, an admitted hater of Donald Trump? That won't be enough to convict.
But the fact is, he was by his side for how many? Was it 11 years more? And he was the consigliere. He knew where the bodies are buried.
He knows where all the bodies are buried. The question is he capable of telling the truth about it? And can he prove it through corroborated testimony? And the final question is there any body buried that constitutes a crime? Because if there's no crime here at all, if in fact just saying that something was a legal expense when it was in fact designed to prevent a lawsuit and to prevent embarrassment to his wife, and also perhaps to help him get elected,
Yep.
that just might not be enough to satisfy the criteria for criminality in this case.
How do you think this is playing with the American public? Do you think they diminish this and think it's just persecuting the presumed nominee for the Republican Party? Or is it degrading his image in the public mind, making him look like a figure of fun? Because some of the details that Stormy Daniels came out with, they were pretty embarrassing.
Pretty embarrassing. I think the American public is divided into three. People who are so committed to Trump that nothing could change their mind, people who are so committed against Trump that nothing can change their mind, and then a decreasing number of people who actually have open minds and might be influenced by this. And even they are divided into two, those who think that the sex stuff is relevant to being a president and those who think it's not. So very hard to predict what impact this will have on the public. If there is a conviction, certainly it will affect some independent voters, and the conviction will probably be reversed on appeal, but probably not until after the election. So the purpose and goal of this thing was threefold: to have a gag order to make sure he can't say things; number two, to keep him locked in the courtroom for days; and number three, to get a down and dirty conviction, even though it might be reversed on appeal. So that's why Trump calls it election interference. It's clearly designed to have an impact on the election. And the question is, will it? And if so, which way?
Right. And talking of delays and, what's going on between now and the election, the classified documents case from Mar-a-Lago, it's been delayed indefinitely, we hear. Judge Eileen Cannon says the case is complex. We need more time. What do you think? That's going to help Trump, isn't it, surely?
Oh, it's definitely going to help Trump because that's the one case that he clearly would have been convicted on. The evidence there is clear. It's a smoking cigarette butt. It's not a smoking gun because it's not that serious a crime, but it is smoking. And the fact that it will be postponed mostly as a result of failures of the government to properly disclose certain information will help. And the Georgia case is also going to be delayed now because of the actions of the prosecutor committing possibly perjury on the witness stand about her relationship with her special counsel. And the only case that's left really then is the Washington, D.C. case, and that is being delayed by a Supreme Court decision. So this may be the only case that comes to trial before the election, and that's why it's important.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Alan Dershowitz, former lawyer but not supporter of former President Trump. Alan, thank you very much indeed.